This is Mahesh Ravi, and we are going to talk about the second stage in this particular video series. So you might remember the first part where we left off. So we basically created a design, and we were planning to break it down into a design system. So usually what happens in atomic design or in normal design system workflow is where you start with the basic components. You define the typography, you define the colors, you define the shapes, and then later you create different various design collaterals by using that design system. But when we are starting with design, right, especially for beginners, it will be difficult to come with a good and cohesive design system out of thin air, because we don't have any references. We cannot say that this typeface will work really well with this color, or this typeface will pair well with this other typeface. So to help you with that, right, we're going to follow something called reverse atomic design, where we start with a basic design, right, a final finished design project, like how you see on the screen. This is what we have done in the first part of it. We started building this design, right? So what we are going to do now is that since we have a design, this doesn't even have to be a functional design. We are just trying to put all the elements in here together today. So this can be called as a stylescape, right? We are putting everything together and we are testing out what works and what not, what doesn't work. So we have finished making this design, and now what we are going to do is we are going to extract individual components from here, and then we are going to define it separately, right? So what we'll do is we will take these elements, put it into a design system. So let's start building that. Let's start with, say, typeface, right? So before that, let's build a pretty cool and simple cover design for our design system. So let's take a text and type design system. Change the color to white. Scale it up. Let's change it to okay. I'm gonna do this, and you can also put the brand title and everything here. So we haven't thought about a brand yet. This is just a tutorial on how to make a design system. So whatever brand that you're working for, you can just mention the name of the brand, and what is the version of this design system. You can also mention that here. So we are working on version 1.0, and we have that here. So we have the basic info regarding the design system, a basic, very basic cover. So, and then we can start building on it. Let's duplicate this so it comes in here. Let's change the background color to white. So the first thing that we have to define is definitely the identity of the brand, right? So currently we have, so we can go back to the design because we are taking elements from here and we are defining it in our design system, right? So we have the logo of the brand. Now, I already have the logo designed and I've stored it somewhere else in my system. So I'm going to go and bring in my logos, right? So let's go to downloads, logo, and we have all these variants here. This is good. Let's start with our primary logo. So I'm going to just drag and drop my primary logo into this, right? So this is our primary logo. So you can also write a brief note about the logo here in your design system. It's always a good idea to actually write something about it. Anything that you want to actually say about the logo, you can actually put a note right there. So I'm not going to write anything right now. I'm just saying that is always a possibility. So maybe some notes about how did you come up with the idea, or how does this particular logo represent the brand and all that stuff. You can mention it here. Now, the most important part that we are going to talk about is what are the components that we are defining, right? So we have the primary logo in here, right? So we can also put all the variants that we are letting the others use here in this design system. So we are telling that this is the actual logo. So whenever it's possible, you should be using this logo. But in case, let's say you are using this logo on a black surface, right? In case there is a situation that you have to use this logo on a black surface, then you can use this particular variant. This is white. You cannot see it because the background is also white. So let's bring in a shape here, fill it with black, and we can put the variant there inside that shape. So we are saying that, this is our primary logo, but in case there is a situation where you have to use the logo on a black background, you shouldn't use this, you should use this, right? So that's the first variant that we have defined. Now, you can define, there is no rule in defining variants. You can have as much as variants that you want for your brand. So I have a couple of more variants. I have something called a stacked variant, right? So a stacked variant is something where I have broken this logo into 2 lines, right? So I have a stacked variant like this. This is also something that I am allowing the designers to use when they are communicating with my brand. So I'm saying that if this is not working, and if this is not working, you have this option also. This might be very useful when you're actually creating a profile image, right? Because since this logo is wide, it might not fit well into an Instagram profile picture, right? So in that case, maybe this will work better. So I have a stacked variant like this. So let's go to our variations and let's see what other variants that we have created. We will not use everything, but let's say, okay, I also have a color variant. In case if they are very, very particular about using a color, they can use this logo. So I have created a color variant also in case if they need it, right? So this is how you define your assets, right? So this is how you can work with the logos, right? Now, when you're defining a design system, you're providing all the assets, all the variations. You might have to actually provide certain guides to follow when they are using these logos, right? So let's create a duplicate of this and let's delete all of this. So here what we are going to define is that, let's say if somebody is using my logo, right? We can define the boundary of this logo, right? What should be the boundary or the space around this logo that should be left untouched when you are combining or when you are putting it into a design. So what I've done here is that in this logo, I have, created the clear space also here. So I have something like this. So I'm going to just drag and drop and add it here. So what I'm basically saying here is that this is my logo's exclusion zone, right? So exclusion zone is the boundary or the personal space of the logo that no other elements can break into. So in this logo, what I have used here is this particular triangle which is in the logo is actually the clear space of this logo, right? So clear space of the logo is the height of the logo's triangle. So in whatever scale they are using it, they need to leave the triangle space around it to create a clear space, right? So this is a very interesting and important thing that you have to understand when you are defining logos, right? Every logo will have a personal boundary and you have to define it like that in your design system, right? So it's always important that you take an element from the logo and use it as the clear space. Pixels will not work here. You cannot define like 10 pixels of clear space. The problem is that when the logo is scaled up, right? If your value is still a static 10 pixel, that will be very less of a clear space, right? So you have to keep it very relative to the logo. So that's the reason I'm using this triangle from the logo as a clear space. So if the logo is scaled up, this triangle will also grow along with it, right? So that's a very interesting way to create a clear space. Always take an element from the logo and use it as the clear space. So this is your style guide, right? So the next thing that you can define here is, so I'm going to duplicate this one more time. You can actually show them in your design system a couple of good usage of logos and a couple of bad usages of logos. So this is called the best practices slide, right? Best practices slide. So you can show them good examples and bad examples. So for example, let's say we are going to show them a bad example, right? So I'm going to write a subheading here, productions. So here, if I place it right here, it is following the clear space that we have set, right? But if I break that rule and if I keep it here, this is breaking the rule that the designer has set. So this is a wrong practice and this is the right practice. Let's put an icon also there so that people will understand it. So I'm going to just write wrong, find an icon for, okay. So we'll take it and we'll sort of put it like, this is the wrong practice, let's change it to red. And this is the right way to use our logo. So we'll go and say, pick, mark. Okay. So this is the right way to use the typeface. So we are going to mark that with a blue, with a green. So we have this. So we have, for every component that you're defining, there should be a minimum of 3 slides. So the first slide can actually talk about the UI assets, right? So these are the interface assets that we are delivering. So we are telling that what should be used in here. The second part of it is the style guide, right? We are giving them instructions on how to use our component. And the third part of it is basically the best practices, where we are showing them some examples of good usage and bad usage, right? Practice. So we have this. So this is how you define a design system, right? And we basically took it from here, right? Let's go on and continue building our design system, right? So we are going to duplicate this, and the next element is going to be typography, right? So we'll put it here, and instead of identity, so once we have defined our logo, identity, style guide, all those things, we're going to go into typography. So typography that needs to be used in this design. So we'll delete all these stuff. We don't need any of that. You can write a bit about the typography. Now we are going to go here. We're going to bring in all the typefaces that we have used in this design, right? So let's say we have this, copy that, bring it to our typography, and change the color so that we can see it quickly. Change the fill color to black. So we have this. Let's find all the typography. So we have something like this here. Okay. Is there any other type of typography which is used? No, this is all the same. I think we have this also. So Apple symbols is what we are using. Let's copy that and let's bring that also here. Okay, scale it up a bit. Apple symbols, let's change that. Okay, so we have basically 3 different typefaces that we are using in our design. All right, so now what we are going to do is we are going to name them in with their actual title. So catalog is actually written with all round Gothic. So let's mention all round Gothic. We have that. This is written with Apple symbols. So we'll write Apple symbols. And we have something here called Menlo, right? So let's write Menlo. Okay, we have all the typefaces defined here. Now we have to tell them that what is this, right? Where is it used, right? So we can mention that our primary typeface is this. So let's give them a title like primary typeface. Okay, so we have our primary typeface, which is the all-round Gothic. Zoom in a bit. Let's say that this is our secondary typeface. Let's duplicate it again and say that this is our body typeface. Okay. Now we have all of this defined here. Okay, our first part, which is the assets, we have defined it. So they know that what are the typefaces that you can use in your design. Now the second part of it is the style guide, right? We have to tell them when to use it. All right, otherwise they will not understand where to use primary typeface, secondary typeface, and things like that. So you can mention that where to use this primary typeface. So you can say that, okay, heading 1, slogans, right? These are the 2 areas where you can use the primary typeface. So secondary typeface can be on subheadings. What else? Yeah, I think it's only that, right? Or text on pictures. No, that's not there. So subheadings is fine. And where can they use Menlo, right? For body text, buttons. That's it. So we have defined the use of all these typefaces, right? So these are the primary typefaces and they can use it here appropriately. Now, the third one, the third slide that we have to create for this component is to show them a good example and a bad example, which we already tested it because we created a design here, right? So we can show them an example of this. We can maybe take this part. So I'm going to take this component here, copy that, and we'll put it right, delete all of this and put it right here. So this, since we have used it in our design, this is the right way to use the text, right? This is the right usage. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to bring it right here. And now if I take this and if I change this to, let's say, Menlo, right? This is the wrong usage because they have used it for the heading, right? So that's wrong because we have defined that, okay, this cannot be used for a heading. And if I change this to Apple symbols, that's again not going to work. That's a wrong usage, right? So we're going to take the right and wrong icons, bring it here, and say that this is right and this is wrong, right? So I hope you got an idea how to basically create a design system from a design that we already, once after this design system is created, we don't even have to keep this design. You can completely delete it, right? So what you can do is you can keep building all these things. Now what is pending is we have to define colors, we have to define images, right? So we'll go there. I'll show you how to do that. So let's switch to something that I've already finished working on. It's the same process, right? So let's switch to that particular project and I'll show you how this will look when it is finished. You can see this right now, right? So this is where it all started. Then we broke it down into our type system, color system, identity system, shape system, imagery system, and pattern guide. Now, see, if you come here, you can see that this is the UI kit, the style guide, and the best practices, right? So just like what we saw earlier in the previous file, I've done this earlier, right? So where to use it and what is a good practice and wrong practice. Same with colors. So colors, getting the colors was pretty easy because I already have a design and I took those colors and put it right there. Primary colors, secondary colors, and the accent colors or highlight colors, right? When to use it, where to use it, then right and wrong usage of it, the logo that we have already worked on, shapes, right? How to create that shape, what is the grid system that I followed, and what is the wrong and right way to use the shape. Also the same with images, what kind of images should be used in your design, where should you use what image, and also good and right, the bad practice of using a logo. Now you can also see that I have defined something called a pattern guide, which is not there in the final design that we had done, right? So this is a basic thing. You have to define if there is an interactive component that you have in your final design, or you're planning to have it more of interactive buttons, which has behaviors in your design, you might have to define different states of something. So you can see that, just take a look at this and you will understand. This is a button and this is how this button will look when it is default, right? When nobody is touching the button, this is how it will appear. But when somebody is hovering their mouse over it, it will actually look like this. When the button is clicked, it might change to red. When the button is disabled, it will look gray. And if you have any notifications in that particular button, it will show with a red dot on top of it. So this is how I envision that my interactive button should be. So like that, you can define everything which has a behavior in your design, right? This is not mandatory for this particular exercise that we are doing. We defined all the component that we have used in our design and we created a design system. Now that we can go here and you can delete this and you can share this with others so that they can start using this design system and build more designs, right? So in the next part of this video, we'll be looking at how to optimize this, how to actually share it with other people and let them work on, other design solutions using the design system that you have set. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please try to watch the first video also if you haven't already, because otherwise you will not understand the flow of it. Go back, watch the first video, come back to this, watch it, let me know your thoughts and follow along. Thank you. Bye-bye.